say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet. Gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen. In Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're in northern Kentucky in Cincinnati. Now, you saw our show where we went to the festival and we really started wanting to know the history. And I found Dan. You've written several books on this. I have so many questions for you. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The history in this area. Once we went to the festival, once my eyes were opened to the huge influx of German culture from, really it started in the 1830s to, there was already maybe, 5% population of Germans in the 1830s. To 1855, what happened during that period?
So between 1830 and 1855, there was something in Germany called the War of 1848.
Gotcha.
And so that was basically the serfs, the peasants, and kind of the intelligentsia rebelling against the barons and the nobles of Germany. Well, they lost, and they came all over here in droves between 1848 and 1855, and they settled here in northern Kentucky and Newport, Covington, and Dayton. All the little communities across the river from Cincinnati, which was kind of a bustling town.
So what does that have to do with Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen? Well, once we did our last show, we just peeled one layer off the onion, and I started realizing how deep this culture was. We wanted to explore some restaurants around the area and some history. So we're going to talk a little bit of history, and then we'll come back and visit a place, and then back and forth, but so on and so forth. So all this German influx. Now, I love German culture, period. I love their food, their beer, everything about it. So how did that affect, in this particular area, there was, a lot of people didn't take too kindly to that.
That's right. When they first came, there was a American political party called the Know Nothings.
Right.
And they were very anti-immigrant, and that included the Germans, the recently arrived Germans, as well as the Irish. But the Germans really came in droves here in northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, and in some statistics, about 75% of people living either on this side of the river in Kentucky or the other side of the river in Cincinnati can claim that German heritage.
Right. So a lot of these were skilled craftsmen, artisans, and they didn't have any trouble finding work and creating shops. And many butchers, trained folks came in, and wasn't there kind of a triangle? And was Cincinnati that? Tell us about the triangle.
So the German triangle: Cincinnati, St. Louis, Milwaukee.
Right.
So that's really where the Germans came, and different periods of time and different types of Germans. So we were probably the earliest in Cincinnati because we were one of the first big cities west of the Alleghenies. So we had the early Germans, the northern and southern Germans, and then as kind of the eastern Germans came closer to World War I, they settled in Milwaukee and St. Louis. And so as they came, they brought their culinary traditions from the various regions. And so you bring all those culinary traditions together, and they sort of morph together and create a regional specific thing that's based on an old German tradition that they brought.
What's all this butchery going on in here, and the pork, and what did they used to call it?
Yeah, so there's great stories about the sausages of Cincinnati and Geta and some of the other meat products that were based on, have German ancestors, but really became their own regionally when they hit Cincinnati. So Geta is a very interesting thing. It's basically what's called a grain sausage or a slaughter sausage. So it was made at the time that a pig was slaughtered. Back in Germany, you'd have a pig that was slaughtered in the fall, and the good cuts of meat would be divided and given to the baron. Of course, the Bauer, or the farm people, the serfs, they'd get the offcuts of meat. So they had to do something with it. They'd get a head, they'd get some organ meat, the hoofs, the trotters. And so they'd take that meat and they'd extend it with grains. And so what geta is pork and beef mixed with what we call pinhead oatmeal, which is something native to the northern Kentucky region that was also made by a German immigrant.
So this is really filling? And it really stretches it out, makes it last longer?
Right.
It's everything but the squeal in there, right?
It is. It used to be. So nowadays we use, because we can, we use good cuts of meat. We use typically pork shoulder and good ground beef, onions, pinhead oatmeal, and every family has their own way to kind of spice it.
So let's talk about, I think, 1852. There was a market that was established that still stands today. Tell us about the beginnings up to now.
So Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, almost every public square had its own market. We're lucky to have one of those historic markets, which is Finley Market, over the Rhine neighborhood of Cincinnati, which was traditionally the German neighborhood. It was kind of west of Liberty, which was where the city ended in about 1852. So all the German immigrants kind of congregated around that area around Finley, and Finley was just a cornucopia of butchers and bakers and sausage producers and people that made pickles and sauerkraut.
Can you imagine the smells? Wouldn't you like to walk through there in 1852?
Wouldn't that have been great?
So all this was going on in an open air market and in storefronts as well?
Right, and so really Finley is the last kind of legacy of those markets that were dotted all throughout the cities here in northern Kentucky and in Cincinnati. And it's very much the way it used to be. It's all independent, small vendors that have a stall. There are some legacy butchers that have been there for 2 and 3 generations that are still doing these traditional sausages, mets and brats.
All right, Finley Market, 1852. Let's see what it looks like today. All right, I was looking for the head honcho and I found her. This is Kelly.
Hello.
Director?
Director of Communication for the Corporation for Findlay Market.
Right there.
This place.
All right, tell us about that. This is not some new upscale, just started 3 weeks ago.
That is certainly not the case. So
a whole lot of history here.
Lots of history here. So Findlay Market's been around since 1852.
Same year I was born.
Was it?
Yes.
You look good for your age.
It's a lot of bourbon.
It is Ohio's oldest, longest running public market. So back in the 1800s, there were several markets around Cincinnati, all over Ohio, and this is the only one that is continuously running.
So the German influences here are really heavy and cool.
Yes.
Who doesn't love German food?
So you'll find that influence in a lot of our merchants here. So right behind you, right here, is Silverglades. They have been at the market for decades, and they have a lot of cheeses and meats that are, yes, very German. Right here is Eckerlin Meat, wonderful family, been around since the 1850s.
Since 1852?
Yes.
So what happens when you go back this way?
So inside the market house is open year-round, which a lot of people are a little bit confused about the public market. They think maybe a farmer's market, which we have on the weekends, but we are open year-round. Inside, we have over 30 vendors, all individual businesses. But what we do inside and in the storefronts around here is we have about 2/3 grocers. So that means your meats, your raw meats, and your cheeses, your spices, but we also have some prepared food. And then some vendors are a little bit of both. So Grandma Debbie's Kitchen, she has a lot of the brats and sausages and those sorts of things, the sauerkrauts that
what
you
else
can
do
buy.
you need? That's all the food groups
That's
right
all
there.
you need. That's all you need, right? It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place with a lot of great food, but I would say also the diversity here. It is by far the most diverse place in the city of Cincinnati.
But how in the world did I not know? If I don't know, then that means a lot of other people don't know. So what would you say to people who are maybe just an hour away to come on up here and cross the bridge?
I would say we are more than just the farmers market that a lot of people think we are. We are home to 50 full-time merchants, all individually owned businesses. You are supporting the local economy, you are supporting local farmers, you get to interact with the person who's growing your food.
Well, I think we need to get up and look around.
I think so too.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
we just got started. This is the first place we came to, and I'm looking up here and it says Eckerland Meats since 1852. So my buddy Ron Ellis, who's a writer, says you've got to try their Goetta. And the meat, the beautiful, wonderful, beautiful, sexy meat laying in there all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us who you are.
Josh Lillis with Eckerland Meats. I'm sixth generation here.
Sixth generation.
Six generations, 1852.
Tell us about the history of this.
The Eckerland family, my family, had 3 slaughterhouses and about 5 butcher shops all through town. Then when 1852, they actually had a farm stand, and we had an initial one of the stands there, but they didn't actually have the established date until 1854 for Finley Market, because they wanted to be the first cast iron structure in the city. So yeah, our family has been down here since the very beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, 6th generation, like I said. Long time, feeding the neighborhood, time.
What are you most proud of here? What is your top selling item in here?
Well, we sell a lot of Goetta.
Okay.
Just about everybody that comes in doesn't leave without at least a pound of Goetta. And it's
and you know, I've been sampling it off camera. I'm new to this. I just found out that it existed not too long ago.
Only in Cincinnati.
Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep eating this Goetta.
Definitely. Glad to speak with you guys.
Okay, where are we, Steve?
We are at the Over the Rhine Beer Garden here at historic Finley Market in the heart of Over the Rhine, one of the biggest and best historic districts in the country. Yeah, and this neighborhood was built by Germans. It was so German, they joke when you cross the canal that you were crossing the Rhine River into a little Germany, so over the Rhine. 75% of the population of the city in the late 1800s was German immigrants or children of immigrants, and so they brought all their culture and customs and food with them.
4 or 5 newspapers that were in German print.
At least, yeah. They taught German in the school. It was spoken in the streets. Business was done here, and so this literally was a little Germany right here in Ohio.
Wow. All right, I was talking briefly to Kelly about some of the underground tours. What is that?
Well, it all stems from the fact that Cincinnati was this neighborhood was a very German neighborhood, and they liked their beer back in the day, lager beer in the 1850s. And so they built these breweries, these massive breweries to supply that beer. And before mechanical refrigeration, they needed underground cellars to keep that beer cold and to make that beer. And so there are dozens of historic brewery sites here in this neighborhood. Many of them have these massive cellars, 30, 40 feet underground, where they used to make that beer. And so today we take folks, share that brewing heritage, and take them down those cellars and show them a really, really fun time.
They weren't trying to hide anything. It was just basically to keep things cool before refrigeration.
Exactly. That was the high technology of the time. And so lager beer was originally brewed in caves back in Germany, and they basically built these artificial caves deep underground to make all that delicious beer. So one of the things we're doing is to share this brewing heritage, is building the Brewing Heritage Trail as a permanent celebration of this history. And it's not just how much beer we made and how much we drank, which was a lot here in Cincinnati. It's telling really the story of Cincinnati and America through the lens of beer. So it's a story of immigration and food and culture and the Civil War and all these different things told through beer, and it's going to be a really fun, exciting thing.
Have you kind of seen a revitalization just in this area, and you start to see things looking better and people taking pride in some of this architecture? I mean, just look right over there. Yeah. Looks like they're starting to work on some of this stuff.
They are. There's some big redevelopments happening. It's a neighborhood that was neglected for a very, very long time for a lot of reasons, big national reasons, local reasons. And in the last 5 to 10 to 15 years, we've really seen, again, a reappreciation of these assets that we have, the history, the culture, the buildings, the fact that it's already here. We're not building a whole new neighborhood somewhere on a cornfield somewhere. It's already here. It's already been paid for. And so all those things are coming together, and people are really appreciating the urban life and all this history down here.
Thank you so much. Now, the unpleasantness of World War I and World War II, what effect did that have?
It did have a lot of effect. Street names were changed that were German, so Bremen Street became Liberty Street, things like that. It happened here in northern Kentucky. They called sauerkraut Liberty Cabbage, and people really sort of stepped away from being German. A lot of my family included, instead of saying we were German, they said we were from Alsace-Lorraine, because that was on the border of France. And so people didn't talk about German heritage until the 70s, when German Day was instituted and Oktoberfest came back into popularity, and we associated being German with being Bavarian. So the frivolous, polka dancing, beer drinking Germans of Bavaria. And so that really kind of allowed people to reclaim their German heritage.
Well, and it's a sad thing, but anytime there's war, it destroys so much. But the people that came to this country loved this country. The German people that came, it was just unfortunate that people they can't look past certain things. To me, I love history, I love tradition. So where can you go now to get good German food?
There's two of those. Over here in Kentucky, I would definitely go to Katarina's. Katarina's is run by a German family. It's like stepping into somebody's house. The family is there. It's two daughters, a mother and father, and they treat you like your family. They've got a great beer selection. They've got great German breakfasts on the weekends. It's just a phenomenal place to go and have a casual, authentic German dinner.
What's another one?
So across the river, Mecklenburg Gardens is the oldest continually operating German restaurant in Cincinnati. They've been around since about the Civil War. Louis Mecklenburg was a German immigrant who was a cook for the restaurant that had been there previously. He took it over, and it's been a German restaurant continually since then.
Now, if you wanted some good rabbit, where would you go?
So really the only place you can get rabbit around here is at Commonwealth Bistro in Covington.
I think I might like to go there right now. All right, now this is Chris. Now he is in this area, lucky dog.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your restaurant?
Commonwealth is a casual fine dining bistro. I guess kind of one of the things that were historically inspired and locally sourced. The historic inspiration kind of came from where we got involved, was actually turned on to the Gutenberg Project by my father-in-law. It's historic menus that we were finding. Some were 1800s, 1900s.
Oh, now see, that's cool, right?
Which was really, really neat. And the menus were so eclectic because of us being, right here on the waterway, right here on the major thoroughfare for traffic. There were things that we found that I never thought I'd find, like, floating island dessert, which is like meringue en anglaise, and that was on a menu that was almost 120 years old.
So this is some sophistication going on way back.
Absolutely. And so that kind of got the ball rolling, saying, we can kind of come into this area, we can be a Kentucky bistro, but we don't necessarily need to put ourselves in a tiny little box.
Now, what? I see a rabbit on your jacket there.
So the rabbit, of course, it's a sign of good luck and fertility and all that stuff, but most notably, I love rabbit. I love cooking with rabbit. I first started preparing rabbit with John Robert and John Rowe Bistro, and we knew that we wanted that to be a staple on our menu.
So what are we having today?
Today, actually, we're going to have the Kentucky Fried Rabbit. So the rabbits we get from a local farm here in Verona. It's Union Bloom Farm. That's been brined. We do a buttermilk brine on that, and then we cold smoke it. That's then confit, then fried, and we're doing that with our touch of grace biscuit, some collard greens.
Would it be improper? Would anybody come out and smack us if we picked that rabbit up by our
I sure
and ate it
won't.
with our fingers?
I sure won't.
It's fried
Again,
meat.
it's fried rabbit.
Now, what's the sauce you were telling me?
So the sauce is bizbaz, which is a North African dipping sauce. Kind of yogurt, some lime, a bunch of fresh herbs, cilantro, jalapeno.
Can I just dip that in?
Absolutely.
Is it my beard?
It's not in your beard, you're not doing it right.
Goodness. That might be some of the best rabbit I've ever had.
And right
Tell us
here you
what else
have
you
the lamb belly bacon salad.
I will get my fork out for that. That's good.
That's done with beet pickled pearl onions, grapefruit, and a grapefruit mint dressing. So we actually cure and smoke the lamb belly in-house, just with some tender greens from Carriage House Farms.
You're killing me.
Pickled pearl onions, yeah, some fun stuff.
Oh, wow. You're going to love that.
It's got a little bit of the mosh, a little bit of radish shoots from Carriage House Farm.
Fantastic. Wonderful. It's you can't get rabbit everywhere today.
Oh, we're happy to be a place you can get it.
And for those folks, and I've heard stories about your chicken too. How do you get here? What's the address?
So we're at 621 Main Street, Covington, Kentucky, 41011.
That's what I'm talking about.
Come on down and see us.
Watch this. I'm going to go through this like a chainsaw.
You can do it. I know it.
All right, now something else that you've written a book about, Cincinnati Chili. What is Cincinnati Chili, and why is it different from any place else?
Cincinnati Chili is basically a Greek or Macedonian invention. So that's a cool story. It started over in Cincinnati at a little burlesque theater called the Empress. And these two Macedonian immigrants, two brothers, John and Tom Kirjeff, decided they were going to start a little coney stand. And so they used their coney sauce with Greek spices, took that coney sauce and put it on top of spaghetti and served chili spaghetti. So you could go see a burlesque show, and after that you could get chili and spaghetti. Well, one of their customers one day said, hey, this would be really good if you could shred up some cheddar cheese on top of it. And they said, okay, that's cool. So they did that, and that became the three-way.
So, in a nutshell, there's the history of
Cincinnati Chili.
Cincinnati. Yeah. Now, talking about restaurants in Cincinnati, where's a good place to go to get some Braunschweiger?
Bauer European Kitchen is a great place to go.
Maybe we should go there right now. Let's talk about the fact that it's hard to find good German food.
Oh, impossible here.
Or European food, period. But
Right.
this is really what you do.
Right.
Why did you decide to go this route? First of all, tell us where we are,
Okay.
where it's located,
Sure.
and what you do here.
So we are Bauer European Farm Kitchen, 435 Elm, Cincinnati, Ohio, obviously. So really what this was in my 25-year tenure was a reflection of who I was, who I am, like my roots. The mission for me here is to really reconnect people through food to really their history of who they are and their lineage.
So as we sit here and we're talking, and I hate to be distracted, but all these wonderful smells are coming. Tell us what we've got here.
Well, one of my things is we love to make charcuterie, and we do lots of it here in-house. We are a very farm-to-table restaurant. We work with a local great distributor called Ohio Valley Food Connection, which puts us in hand with basically everybody. So this is a definite reflection of what's seasonal right now. All the pickles we do here in-house, and we love doing pickles. I'm a nut for pickles,
I
right?
love pickles.
From pickled green tomatoes, right, to pickled green beans, pickled summer squash. We've got some speck here, which is basically, we'll say, like smoked prosciutto. That comes from a region very close to Germany and Italy, so it's kind of right in that realm. This is a brand new cheese we got from a local called Edmar Dairy, and this is like their version of a nice aged cheddar. We do a honey jam made from Carriage House Farm honey. And this is an onion jam. It's a byproduct of, we make onion stock for about 4 days, and that's the base of our French onion soup. So we have all these onions left over, so we use everything here, and that's what happened there.
That could be almost dinner right there.
It definitely can be.
But being that we have this over here, let's talk about what we got
Sure.
going on right here.
So this is a great representation of local product. We take a very old process where we actually cure the chicken and then slowly cook it in chicken fat for about 5 or 6 hours. And then we pack it in that chicken fat, right? So it's an old way to preserve the chicken before refrigeration time, but it's also a way to tenderize it and give it tons of awesome flavor, right? But the greatest thing about this is the array of vegetables that we have here. I mean, there's probably 12 farms of vegetables on here. This is more of a celebration of the vegetables and then the vehicle is the chicken to enjoy the vegetables.
I'm so glad to see this happening around this area, and what you're doing is just amazing. And we appreciate you taking time out of your day.
My pleasure.
And we're going to let as many people know as we possibly can. Again, where are you? What's your location?
435 Elm, Cincinnati, Ohio, Bauer Farm Kitchen.
I'd give 2 thumbs up. Now this is a good time to tell you about our Facebook page. If you have not joined our Facebook page, all you got to do is hit like. Also, if you want to look at some recipes, timfarmerscountrykitchen.com. We have recipes, how-tos, all sorts of stuff there. We're in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, beautiful, foodie, historic. It's all about good times, good friends, and good eats. And thanks for telling us some history about this wonderful area.
To order a cookbook, please call 502-319-0487 or email timfarmerck@gmail.com. Special thanks to CKY, Canoe, Kentucky. Furniture World Superstore. Housewarmings. Lodge Cast Iron. Tater Knob Pottery and Farm.